Hello and welcome to another edition of the Mayor Dan Paletko Show. Very pleased to have as my guest today the Community Economic Development Director for the City of Dearborn Heights, Ron Amon. So Ron, thank you for being my guest today.
Always a pleasure, Mayor.
And you've been the director of the department for how many years now?
It was 5 years this past November, so a little over 5 years.
And it's done a great job in the department. So
well, thank you.
We're here to make the public somewhat aware of some of the programs that can help our residents. And the Community Development Block Grant Program was originally created when President Nixon was in office. And what he wanted to do, there were all these programs that were assisting urban areas, but his idea was to capture them all into one grant program and get community involvement, because our big criticism was that the programs sometimes didn't apply very well to the local communities. So his administration said, we'll get this general area, we'll give monies to the communities, and then they can select as to where the dollars can get placed. And so out of that program, and Ron, where has Dearborn Heights spent its dollars?
Well, this past year, our allotment from HUD was slightly over $900,000. That's the amount of the total grant. And out of that grant, there's a 20% is dedicated to administration of the grant of the department that takes care of wages, any of the insurance that's picked up by the city for the employees, other incidental costs. The biggest part, about 50% of that $900,000 this year has been dedicated to our home rehabilitation program. And that program enables the city to rehabilitate the homes of residents who qualify under the program. The program has some guidelines regarding the amount of income an applicant is able to make and still qualify for the program. There are other aspects. The applicant has to have all of their taxes paid up to date. Their water bill has to be paid up to date. There are documents that they have to provide to the department to show that they actually do own and live in the home, such as like a gas bill or a light bill in their name, and a copy of their deed. A lot of people have problems getting a copy of their deed because they've owned their home for many, many years and misplaced the deed. But you can obtain one from the Wayne County Registrar of Deeds office. I think there's a $10 or $12 charge.
So when I have people come to my office and they'll periodically indicate that their home has some need of major renovation, and we send them over to your department because the feeling is, and you check out if they're in low and moderate income, they have the right income, and then how does the process go from there? If you think they're going to qualify, what does the applicant have to do?
Well, once the applicant is qualified for the program and met all of those restrictions called for, what we'll do is send an inspector out to their home, and with the assistance of the resident, we'll go ahead and do a full inspection and see exactly what is needed. Possibly, many cases, new bathrooms have to be provided, new kitchens, flooring, even new windows, siding, roofs. Outside on the exterior of the house, we'll do driveways, sidewalks, porches. Basically, what the program does is repair or replace the existing structure. We don't remodel. We don't knock down walls or put up walls inside of homes. We don't do additions. We don't put additions on the back of the house. Or on the side or top of the house in some cases. We don't do those things that are just purely aesthetics. For instance, if the house needs to be painted on the outside or painted on the inside, those kinds of jobs are excluded from the program.
So it's a way to get your home up to code, and the beauty of the program, as I understand it, is while you do get a loan, it's a very low interest rate, and so it can be affordable. Now, is it kind of how a conventional loan operates, or is there different ways that the loan can be structured?
Actually, the total cost of rehabilitating the home is given to the homeowner in the form of a loan. And actually, it's a non-interest bearing loan. The loan only becomes due and payable if the homeowner should sell the house, or refinance the house, or turn the house into a rental property. Very few conditions would trigger repayment of the loan. Once the job is completed and the contractor is paid, a lien goes on the house for the amount of the loan that was given to the resident. And of course, the house can't be sold with a lien on it, because we've had cases where the person has gone and tried to sell the house, and the real estate will find our lien on it when they do a title search on the property. But it's a non-interest bearing loan, and there are no payments no monthly payments that have to be made. The only payment is if it changes hands.
Okay, and it's kind of like a revolving fund. As the loans are paid back, then it goes, and we're able to make more loans, but also in the existing grant, because it is a community development block grant program, which was mainly for housing.
Right.
That's why so much of the money, because we oftentimes will get questions, can you use this grant money that we receive for purpose A, purpose B, expanding? And while some of it may be eligible, the fact of the matter is most of the money in the grant needs to be spent on housing, and the idea is that rather than have a rundown housing stock, this provides a way to maintain a good home in the community.
Very true.
And this is the vehicle that people can upgrade their home, make it very livable. I know that it's always, feel sorry for people who will come in, and it might be September and October, and they are concerned because their furnace may be 25 years old and near the end. The water heater might be going, and some other things. And so they cannot afford to do all those improvements. It might be difficult even to get a commercial loan. Yeah. Well, this you're able to provide that upgrade in the home and do it in an affordable manner.
That's very true, Mayor. Quite often the homeowners that come into our office are retired, maybe living on a small pension, Social Security, probably would have a very difficult time qualifying for a loan to, let's say, replace a furnace. I would say the average furnace replacement runs between $5,000 and $6,000. People don't have to wait until their furnace is broken down and no longer working. We can replace furnaces, certainly if they're not operating, but we can also replace them and upgrade their furnace to a more energy efficient furnace, even though their furnace may be working. If it's a gas-fired furnace and it's 15 or 20 years old, it's probably burning maybe at best 50 or 60% of the gas that's being fed into it, and the rest of it's going out to the exhaust. So we can replace a furnace on that basis. All of the furnaces that we replace have to be star regulated by the federal government. They have to meet certain standards. All the furnaces that we replace have to be at least 95% efficient. which means the furnace burns 95% of the energy that's pumped into it. Same thing with air conditioning units. Many of those, although they run on electricity, they may not be using all of the electricity that the most efficient manner. And in that case, too, we can replace them with Energy Star rated air conditioning units. But the time to replace your furnace is in the summertime.
Yep,
Not
you
in the
don't want
dead
to
of
wait
winter.
till it gets real cold
Exactly.
to do that. The contractors that are used, do you select them? How does that process work?
We have a list of contractors who have applied to our program to get qualified, and they have done that. We have probably now about a dozen different contractors. We offer the list to the resident merely as a helpful guide. Certainly, they can procure their own contractors that come in and give them an estimate on whatever work needs to be done on the house. The program calls for at least 3 estimates, and generally the lowest bidder is the contractor that gets the job. And like I say, they have to be qualified. They have to meet certain regulations from the city's building and engineering department. They have to be licensed. They have to have insurance. All those sort of restrictions that they would need in most cities to be able to work.
So I would assume automatically after the work is done, it gets inspected.
That's correct.
Okay.
And another thing you mentioned earlier about the codes in the homes. Certainly, we advise, if we're going into the home to do some work, we advise the resident to upgrade anything that may be below code or not meeting code, but we don't enforce the code. The one area that we do enforce are smoke alarms and carbon monoxide alarms. If the house is not equipped as they should be according to the code of the building and engineering department, that has to be done no matter what work we're doing on the house. So if they don't have a smoke alarm in every sleeping room and in the hallway outside of those sleeping rooms, and a smoke alarm on every level of the house, and at least one carbon monoxide detector nearest the furnace if it's gas fired, those will also be added to the job and part of the loan that the resident receives.
Yeah, I adhere to all those alarms, and I have a carbon monoxide in my basement. And one evening in the middle of the night, this thing is extremely loud, and there's no way that one can continue to sleep through one of those carbon monoxide. And it was as a result of the battery getting low. But those are essential, and a lot of times the fires that you hear about where there are fatalities, people don't have those alarms, and so that's an extremely strong point. Whether you're having any remodeling done or not, you need to have the alarms. And secondly, make sure that the batteries are operable, because having an alarm that doesn't work is not very beneficial. So
Very true.
those things need to be checked. I know that periodically when we change the clocks, people always suggest that might be the time to change those batteries and other things.
Yeah, if you set a certain time of the year to do it, some people do it at Thanksgiving or Christmas or when the daylight savings changes. It's a good reminder to change the battery, even if the battery hasn't dissipated to the point where it starts alarming. It's a good idea to change them anyway. They're only a couple of dollars, and when you put a couple of dollars up against the life of possibly a loved one, it's insignificant. If you'll recall, just maybe about a week or so ago, there was a family in Brooklyn, New York, I believe it was.
Yes.
Their home burned, and six of the children died in that home. And they actually found a working smoke and fire detector in the basement level of the house. Unfortunately, the fire started at in the kitchen just above the basement and burned up to the bedroom and trapped all of those children. And 6 of them perished. Here in the city of Dearborn Heights, you must have one on every level of the house.
Yeah, and this wasn't meant to be a show on safety, but you made me think of one other item. I remember early in my life as the mayor of Dearborn Heights, I had a family, because there's many attached garages, and over the garage they had developed a bedroom for a couple of their children. And the kids were complaining about headaches and stuff. And what was happening, and that's where a carbon monoxide detector would have been very helpful, because the exhaust from the cars, a lot of people now don't want cold cars, so they start them up and garage doors shut, and that fumes had to go somewhere. Well, it was going up in the kids' rooms, and they found out later on that that was the cause, because they took the kids to the doctor, and the doctor kept saying, I can't quite figure out why your kids are having these headaches, and that was the cause of it. So be careful if you have an attached garage, and especially if you have living quarters, let's say on the second floor over the garage. So anyway, but important stuff, but we'll let the fire department talk more about that.
Actually, the fire department does offer this service too with the smoke and carbon monoxide detectors. They have a grant.
So they give free ones?
They do.
Oh, so you get a bonus. So we could almost advertise, get your home remodeled under CDBG and get some free
the block grant program does fund other areas of the city too, beside the home rehab program. We fund senior services.
And I had a woman at Tuesday's meeting. I think you were there, and her big item was thank the mayor and the council for continuing to fund the senior citizen program. Truth be told, they ought to thank you, because the CDBG provides the funds that allow us to continue that program, so that's important. And then crime prevention.
Crime prevention too. Crime prevention is also one of the other areas of the city that block grant funds are used to help subsidize the expense of that department. Crime prevention operates out of the police department, but because they do operate in a low mod area of the city, for one thing, and they also extend their services to special people, senior citizens within the city, we are able to fund that department also. In fact, just before I came over to the studio today, I had just signed a invoice to be paid for the utility bills here at the Berwyn Center, and some of the salaries of the center's employees.
The other thing you've assisted us on, because once again, this being a housing program predominantly, is you've supplemented our ordinance department. That's and correct. Some of the inspectors in there, so we're very thankful of that. So it really, the primary goal is to make sure that the quality of the homes in Dearborn Heights are maintained and are of good value.
Very true.
And so that's an important element. And even though you would think $1 million or near $1 million would be very significant, how many homes are you able to rehab each year?
We're averaging right around 30 homes a year. Depending on the amount of money that has to be dedicated to each home, will determine how many homes that we can do. We see, though, that the home rehabs we've been doing lately that used to average between 10 and 15 are now averaging between 15 and 20. They're older homes. Some of them haven't had much done to them for many, many years. And, Dearborn Heights is a typical bedroom community. We're probably between 22,000, 24,000 homes in the city.
Well, we figure we have, and I go based upon water meters. So residential water meters are about 22,000. So the assumption is that that's a pretty accurate number.
No.
An apartment complex would be considered commercial, but an apartment complex would not qualify for these particular loans. So it's really, the potential is probably 22,000 single-family, predominantly homes. And
And as you said, $1 million may sound like a lot of money, but when you're looking at 22,000 homes, not that all of them need rehabbing, but
Right.
It can get spread pretty thin. Let's see, I think this year, as of January, we've already got 6 of them in progress, 6 of these home rehabs, and we have applications now that the staff is working on to get those people qualified, another 4 or 5, so we're off to a pretty rousing start already. And another new phenomenon that's just happened in the last year or so is that we're seeing that some of these loans are actually being paid off now. A couple of them were due to the homeowner selling the house, and they've come in and paid off their loan. Some of them, the owner has passed away, and a family member is going to take over the house. That also triggers the repayment of the loan. But that money that comes in is also added to the money that's been designated from the original grant money. It goes back into the home rehab program. So in some cases, it might allow us to do another 2 or 3 homes a year.
so if you're looking around your home and you see that there's things that you need, and we'll assume put the phone number and or the address or both underneath in the program. But this would be a good time to apply, and we should be able to help that individual out if they qualify, because there is the income levels.
Right.
And this is a way to allow you to have a home who may have some difficulties currently with furnaces, with would you, just out of a question, but some people as they got older, you'll see advertised where the bathtub is reconfigured and stuff. Do you do that for the handicapped people?
Yes, we do.
Or older people who may need adjustments in the home?
Yep, we can make a home ADA accessible. We actually have a project going here in the Berwyn Center. We have one of the restrooms that is going to be converted to a generic restroom, and it will meet federal ADA standards.
Okay, so there's a lot of potential here. And so, Ron, I'd like to thank you for being a guest today.
Oh, thank you.
On my show. And I'd like to urge the residents of Dearborn Heights, if you have a need for some major rehabilitation in a home or even some minor things that are important so that you're able to have a good quality of life and you meet the income requirements of the program, try this Community Development Block Grant Program for housing assistance, and we're here to serve you. So
just give us a call, 313-791-3500, and we'll send the application packet out to your home.
Okay, super. And I want to thank all those out there for watching another edition of the Mayor Dan Paletko